Hello, everyone. Rachel here. Apologies for the slight delay in the starting of this call. Sas is back from Bali and she was going to host it, but she's having problems with her computer. But she does say she's going to come on and she's going to tell us all of her Bali tales once she manages to get connection, because I think Zoom's updated its software. So I've literally just got back from walking Kobe. And I've just made myself a lovely cup of raw cacao, fancy choc. And I just want to give a little plug. I made it using Helen Miller's Heart Healer cacao. I might put a link to it. I might put a link to it in Rachel Speaks Out. But do you remember Helen was doing a special offer on this hearthealer.co.uk. She sells this amazing cacao handpicked by the Quechua tribe in Ecuador. And I have to say, it's absolutely delicious. And every day now, instead of having a latte, well, sometimes I have a latte, but generally I have a cacao fancy choc made with coconut milk, and it's absolutely delicious. So I highly recommend that. So that's a little plug for Helen and her cacao. So thank you for coming on. I know it's bank holiday. Nonetheless, the freedom movement never sleeps. We are here every fortnight, and same with Stand in the Park, Bakewell, 10 a.m. every Sunday, come rain or shine, even if it's a bank holiday or like a Boxing Day or New Year's Day or something. So it's good to see those of you who have made it today. Let's just start with a little bit of an alignment, for me, if not for anyone else, just to land in the space. So taking 3 long, deep breaths in through the nose and out, blowing slowly out over the bottom lip, which is a beautiful breath, which really calms the nervous system. It's the easiest way to calm the nervous system and come back to center, just using 3 long, deep breaths. And as you're doing those long, deep breaths, just to consciously drop from the mind into the body, into the heart, noticing the support of the ground beneath your feet, noticing the support of the chair underneath your sitting bones, and just scanning your body for any tension you might be holding in your jaw and your hands and your shoulders, just scanning down, consciously releasing, coming out of this morning, and everything that's happened before this call, coming out of this afternoon and everything that you've got planned later in the day, and dropping 100% into the present now moment, so that we can fully tune in to the magic of this group. It's just really lovely to do that little alignment before starting any meeting, I find. So thank you for coming on. And as always, I welcome anyone who would like to speak. And the easiest way for you to come to my attention is to use the hands up symbol. And so please do that. I'm going to switch the original sound for musicians on as well to improve my sound. So I don't have any readings for you or anything like that, because I just didn't have time to prepare. So it will be interesting to hear what's going on for you. So this is the People Speak Out as opposed to Rachel Speaks Out. So I could easily talk for the whole hour, but I've just noticed that Sas is here. She's finally got on. So I'm going to start with Sas and going to invite Sas to tell us about her Bali tales. Her vibration is clearly through the roof because her computer malfunctioned. So let's come to Sas first.
Well, hello, eventually. It's only taken me about 4 days to get this computer sorted. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see everybody here. I'm glad to be back. I've got a new title for the film, Eat, Pray, Love, which actually was funnily I saw was on last night, one of the channels, which is a story, if any of you don't know, all about a lady who breaks up a long-term relationship and then decides to go and travel to India to find herself, in Italy for food, and she ends up in Bali for love. And but from my experience in Bali, I would say I've changed the title to Heat, Pray, as in Prey, and I've had enough. Because the heat was absolutely overwhelming, because it's like an all-encompassing tropical heat that you can't get away from. So that was the first part of the title, is the heat, and I'm a triple fire sign. So I've had an extraordinary hot time, just being in like a stew. And as I mentioned to Rachel, people say, "Oh, Bali is like it's the garden of the gods, it's the Isle of the gods." But I had no idea that actually it was a supersonic washing machine that put you in there and spun you at 100 miles an hour and saw what came out. And some of it wasn't very pleasant, I have to say. But it's been an extraordinary adventure. And there's so many tales I can tell that I'd take up the whole time on here speaking about it. So I just wanted to sort of put forward that I've had an absolutely mental adventure, from my daughter's house, which I arrived at, and it was bare with not one thing, not even a cup of tea. And then I realized that in Bali, nobody actually does anything in their own house. They have staff that do everything. And if they're not there because it's a ceremony, which basically is every other day, the washing up piled up, there was no food, there was nothing going on. So that was a real challenging thing for me to sort of see that my daughter was kind of forgotten how to do any of these domestic things, and wasn't too impressed with not having anything in the cupboard at all. So that was the first port of call. And then she had 5 dogs that she'd rescued. She'd already managed to found homes for 6 of them. So she had 11 dogs, and the 5 of them decided to spend most of the time on my bed, and they're huge, big dogs. So that was a real challenging thing, having all the sheets beautifully washed and cleaned and ironed by a very kind sort of housekeeper, and then the dogs leaping on top of you. And at the same time, there's construction going on everywhere. So it's like a blooming experience of everything being literally erected and no infrastructure to sort of support it. And every single morning at 5 o'clock, the builders started next door with drills, dynamite, blowing things up, literally banging. It was like so intense, this energy of, and the dogs barking constantly, people arriving. It was just absolute chaos, and I just wanted to get out of there the minute I arrived. But of course, I was booked for 7 weeks, so I knew I was in for a bit of an adventure. I think the experiences are just too many for me to share. In fact, it's actually inspired me to write a book and possibly to do a one-woman show, because I think probably one of the most testing things was actually every day, about 3 or 4 times a day, actually hitching my leg over a motorbike whilst I was sped off at top speed by these, what they call go and grab, and literally do go and they do grab you, and you literally have to cling on with all your might, with your legs and everything clinging on while you're sped around these dust roads, which have huge holes in them, dogs running at you in all directions, hundreds of thousands of scooters coming at you. Nobody has any kind of road sense or anything. It's just literally. So I would say that the main thing that I've experienced, that I had to let go, I had no control over anything. And I like my environment all sort of sorted, safe. It was the most unsafe experience I've ever had. And but also the most glorious, because it really showed up where my fears were, and how much of my own strength I did sort of clinging onto the planet. And I literally had to surrender. I had to get on a motorbike 3 or 4 times a day and literally pray that I was going to get there safely, because you saw people literally, so many broken bones, people all, lots of people in hospitals, smashed heads, smashed bodies, because it's so dangerous there. So one thing about the UK is it's actually quite safe. And I think that's why I was kind of pushed to go, was to experience being thrown into the deep end of a very unsafe and very chaotic place. But given that as well, I have the most amazing, beautiful experiences. So the surrendering was really fun, really sort of difficult for me, to let go of everything, to let go of having no food, having let go of not being able to get in my car and just go where I needed to, having to wait for people to pick me up, people to drop me off, being sent on all sorts of wild goose chases where I've ended up 40 minutes, 50 minutes away from everybody. I have no phone. I only could connect to the Wi-Fi in a cafe. I had no SIM out there. So all my daughters were doing everything, and it was just the most incredible release of surrender, and it was very, very scary, I can tell you. I also got attacked by mosquitoes and ended up with massive infections in my legs where I couldn't walk for 3 days. And on the 4th day, honestly, they're the most gross pictures you've ever seen in your life. And I was literally thinking, what is this all saying to me? What is going on? So apparently I'm allergic to the mosquitoes' saliva, and I had a very bad reaction. And so one of the things I had to surrender to was I looked like I was heading for sepsis. So I decided that maybe I would have to take antibiotics, which are like my dreaded thing. I've not had an antibiotic since I was 19. I thought, I'm getting to 60 and I've now, and this is my 60th birthday trip, I've now got to accept taking these antibiotics so that I don't end up in hospital. And luckily, I did manage to recover quite well, along with lots of minerals and stuff that I had. So I've literally been on a roller coaster. And then I was taken up to jungles, taken up through jungles and waterfalls and all sorts of creatures and manner of things coming at you. It was like another world. And but all I can say is that everything is spun off you so that it leaves you bare and exposed. And the amazing people that come together there is absolutely the most eclectic mix of people really rising up and bringing the vibration up, but they're going through all their stuff as well. So we had loads of ceremonies. I can't tell you how many ceremonies I ended up doing, from sister circles to lion portals openings to sacred sluts gatherings. I mean, it was just absolutely mental. So it feels quite calming to be back in the UK, even though I know that's probably just a veneer. But underneath the surface as well, some of these places I look so beautiful, and then underneath the surface you realize that actually there's a lot of stuff that is going on that isn't at all nice. So surrender was the big thing, and I'd just love to read to you, because I took this journal with me, which is a Mother Mary's Oracle, to write down some notes and things. When I looked at it, I realized this was the message that I had. So just as an interesting sort of putting it out there, what do you feel in your life that you need to surrender to? What is it that basically stops you trusting in the process of life? And having just experienced literally clinging on every day, and it was like a metaphor of clinging on to this bike and will I make it? And I literally never prayed so much in all my life, because it just felt so unsafe, and like every day I was meeting death. And every day you had to be so present where you were treading. There was scorpions, snakes, great big holes in the road. There was no pavements, stuff all coming at you, things falling from the sky. So I kind of had to just listen to my inner voice. And there was this voice that was saying, do you believe I could forget or deny you? You have belonged to me through all time and are my divine child. You are under my care and protection. Let go of your worries now and pray to me. I will assist you. And that was the message that I got every day. And then the second one was this. So it's something, food for thought, maybe in your own life. Where do you feel you want to control everything and feel safe? Beloved, you do not need to control life, but you can choose whether you dance with life responsively or resist its flow and feel pushed around by it. How you respond to your circumstances is your choice to make, and can be a source of great inner power. And I found this is when I actually gathered with people. I attracted a lot of young people that wanted to sort of have some wisdom of the mothers, because a lot of them had left home from a very early age, and they were there to sort of find themselves, to sort of make their mark in the world, to follow their purpose. But what they all seem to want to do is gravitate towards an older lady, and feel that safety and that warmth of a sort of wise woman. Even though at times I felt like I was back to being a baby again and totally at the mercy of my own daughters. But I've come through, and there's so much material that I have, because of the exhausting experiences and journeys that I've been on. But it's made me come out of my comfort zone and realize actually that what I have is a great value, like all of us have here. So it's a reminder that wherever you are in the world, you still go with you. You can't run away from yourself. And if anybody goes to Bali, one of the best experiences I had was going to the pyramids of Chi, which are built on these fantastic ley lines of water. And this guy had a vision about, similar to me years ago, about building a temple of light and sound for healing. And there are 3 pyramids, and 2 pyramids like the sun and the moon temple are opposite each other on water. And I actually went in as a birthday gift to have an experience, which was a light and sound vibration experience. And I went in there and they had 12 water beds laid out, so you're completely floating. And then a mixture of indigenous sounds like didgeridoos and flutes and beautiful vocal sort of angelic expressions of this particular person who's taking us through this experience. And then these lights, they had these laser lights that had all different sacred geometry coming into your pineal gland. And I had the most incredible experience of going off on a spaceship. I literally was taken through the vessels, through the blood vessels of the infinite. It was like I went on this journey. It was just absolutely incredible. It was so amazing. And it really made you face yourself, because there was nowhere else to go. There was only inward. So I've just had an incredible journey, but some of it was really, really horrible, really scary. I kept saying, I just want to get me out of here, I'm a celebrity. And get me home, get me back. I want to get back to England. I really do. I can't stand it. It's a godforsaken place. Lots of stuff going on with my daughter. I've not lived with her for 10 years, and we've not really seen much over 10 years. And all of a sudden I'm in her space. All her practices and meditation, they all went to the pot. So we literally, fireworks were going off all the time as well. So a lot to deal with, but great material for what's coming next. So I don't know if anybody else would like to share what they feel they have to surrender to, or what they feel they need to control their lives.
Yeah.
We can actually let go of it.
Fantastic, Sas. Well, I'm looking forward to coming to your one-woman show, My Bali Hell, and the finale, experiencing a recreation of that moon and sun chi temple in your show. Maybe you could do Edinburgh Festival next year.
Maybe, yes. I'm looking for some backing. So if anybody wants to back my
Well, I'm sure we could easily crowdfund that for you.
That would be fantastic.
Your world tour or your UK tour.
Yes, I have the next
why not?
and everything. So yeah, I just really feel enthused to do that and to
fantastic.
Vibrations. Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Yeah,
thank you for
thanks, Sas. Yeah, so thank you for opening the call, and we've got Roger and Eileen who wanting to speak. So let's come to them now. So Sas, are you happy for me to host it then? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because like I don't want to sort of ruin the flow of me swapping over and everything. So
okay, all right. Well, let me come then next to Roger, who had his hand up first, and thank you, Sas.
You're welcome.
Hey, Roger. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. Can't quite see you, but if you put your camera down a bit, that's better.
Okay. I'm not a pretty sight, so never mind. Okay. So we had a gathering at the Beagle on Saturday.
How did it go?
Well, there were 5 people came, but they were all serious-minded people. So, as we've said before, it's not quantity, it's quality.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy. I was happy I got somebody. It may have been nobody. That would have been a bit embarrassing. Anyway, it gave me a chance to start a campaign of distributing this leaflet, which is entitled Trial by Jury, because this is my campaign now. I'm focusing on this and hoping that the love movement is also going to be enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
That's a hope. That's a hope of mine, because I believe this is our policy. One of the items to our policy.
Yeah, it's a key part of the empowerment part of liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment is common law, and trial by jury is obviously core to our common law power and restoration of that. So absolutely, Roger.
So I thought you'd say that. That's good. So now I've got my scooter, my mobility scooter, and I can go around, the shopping precincts, giving these out. And what we're doing is offering 100 of these, including postage, for £10. So anybody who wants to get 100 of these and distribute them, because we've got to get these into every house, can just send £10 note in an envelope to the address which I've put in the chat. And whether I get the £10 or not, if it gets lost, I don't care. I'm just hoping that it does get here, and whoever sends it gives their address, you know, in the envelope. So hopefully I'll be getting lots of envelopes with the sender's address in them and a £10 note. So I'm just hoping and praying. So that's really the only important thing I've got to say today.
Thanks, Roger. So just tell, just read us maybe what's on the leaflet, or show us a bit more. It's a bit difficult to see, but what does it contain?
I understand
and
that.
Did William Keat write that, or did you write that?
Well, no, it was Democracy Defined. We did actually write our own. William Keat, myself and Yogi did design our own. But this one by Democracy Defined seemed to be better. So we decided to go with them. And that's a man called Ken Doudney. So
Okay.
I'll tell you what it says on the front. It says, trial by jury, as defined by Magna Carta 1215, can the government do whatever it likes? How can government overreach tyranny involving potentially criminal actions, such as unlawful illegal wars, forced or coerced medication, the creation of 15-minute cities resembling ghettos, all under the pretext of the greater good, or addressing climate change and the indefinite detention of individuals like Julian Assange, be effectively halted? So I'll just continue with the rest. The Democracy Defined campaign website. So let's go right to the bottom. Why is trial by jury important? And this is the important part. The juror has the right and duty to find the verdict according to his or her judgment on whether the law is just. So that's in essence the important part of the leaflet. That's that's the message really that is foremost to everybody. And in some way, at some time, I link this campaign to the love movement. I've not really had chance to do that because it needs talking. It needs some discussion before I can do that. Okay, so that's it, Rachel.
Okay, thanks, Roger. And all of your details are in the chat there for anyone who wants to take you up on that offer. So thanks, Roger. Yes. I'm going to come next to Eileen. So Eileen, hello. I should say heaven-o, shouldn't I?
Right. Yes. Thank you, Rachel.
Hi.
While the people speak out. I plan to speak, and it's so funny because listening to Sas and the road situation in Bali is quite hilarious, because I've got lots of posters on my window since October 2020, anti-lockdown and everything to do with our freedom movement. And a lot of people have stopped taking photographs and everything, but it does draw people to my door. And regularly are the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they do sort of read them. And again, they refer to Revelations and everything. That's lovely. I had one call last week where they come in couples, 2 men. And this particular one that was sort of addressing me and everything, he brought up the ULEZ. And it seemed to have sort of pressed buttons in him, even though they mustn't get involved with worldly affairs. He actually said how, you know, he's concerned about this is the ultra low emission zone, if people don't, and expansion in Greater London, where I am. And that was interesting, the fact that he actually brought up that, you know, he's really against the ULEZ. And whereas with the lockdown, they've not really committed themselves. And then I also get involved with Beagle, and I had a Beagler come to collect something I was giving away. And again, he said, oh, you've got too many notices up to read. And so I went into what it was about. Oh, I don't concern myself with news, he said. But then he said, I am concerned about the ULEZ. This has woken so many people up. It's just, you know, it's just, so they don't realise it, but they're actually coming over to our side, because Mayor Khan, who's on a real ego trip, and I've done some research here, I already knew this anyway, I just need to get some facts, but in 20th October 2022, last year, he flew to Argentina to participate in the C40 Climate Change Summit, and I think he actually mentions he was also chairing it. I actually watched him speaking, and this has empowered him so much. He is on such a big ego trip, because it's nothing to do with this country. It's the big World Economic Forum, New World Order. It's the big platform that they're actually all on. So all these people are getting so angry about what's happening with the fifth, and again, it will go to the 15-minute cities and everything, and charging to come in, this, that, and the other. So it's so different to the roads in Bali. Everything here is going to be so controlled, how you drive and everything, you know, it's just so different, isn't it? And but what intrigued me is the fact that it's bringing so many people, and eventually maybe they would join the dots, as they say, and realize that, you know, Khan he's just on such a big ego trip that nothing will sort of affect him, because he's getting his instructions from this world power, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd bring that up.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing about common law rights, and this is one of the things that the Love movement is wanting to resurrect, shall we say, because it's not creation, it's a reminder, a 21st century reminder of the People's Charter of Inalienable Rights. And one of the things that I feel that we've forgotten is that Sadiq Khan does not own the roads of London. The streets of London are owned by the people. The people have a common law right to travel, whether on foot or on car or horses or whatever, through the streets, through the public highways and the public footpaths, unhindered, unimpeded, because the people own those streets. And this is the thing, is that the people have forgotten, or they've never been taught.
Never been taught.
Never been taught. And that's this great resurrection of the realization of how many layers of legislation and bullshit have been piled in, so that we don't realize that we have the right of trial by jury. We don't realize, even if you go on a jury, I'm pretty sure that you're not advised that the jury has the right of nullification. In other words, it's not just judging the person, it's judging the legislation too, and it can disregard any legislation in coming to its verdict, which is why if you require a trial by jury, it's very important to say to the jury, are you aware of your powers? Are you aware of your power of jury nullification? Are you aware that you can completely ignore this legislation in coming to your verdict? So it's very interesting times of this resurrection of this empowerment of the people by reminding everyone of their rights, which include the right of free passage along all of the public roads. Sadiq Khan and the government do not own those roads, the people own those roads. So I feel that this is it is an extreme violation of the people's rights. Yeah. So thank you for raising it, Eileen. Don't know if you want to add anything before I come to Brian.
No, I think I've said enough. I'm just surprised how many people have responded with such anger and fury over the expansion of and it's going to happen in other in cities as well, but the anger and reaction and action of speaking out and doing that, it's actually provoked, which the last 3 years didn't provoke. I think that's what it is. The last 3 years, people are so asleep, and yet this has touched a raw point, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, friends of mine who live in London, they are basically having to sell their perfectly good car
Yeah,
because they can't, and
yeah,
so in that sense,
yeah,
you can see, I'm not, when I look at it through
mm,
the sort of eyes of like understanding the
yes,
corporate world, the
mm,
World Economic Forum, it's
mm,
basically corporate, big corporate. They are desperately looking for new markets. How
mm,
do we create new markets? How do
mm,
we get everyone to sell their
mm,
perfectly good
yeah,
old car and scrap it so they
mm,
can have the new thing? How can we upgrade the iPhone so that you feel that you need another? How can we make things obsolete? How can we
yeah,
destroy
yeah,
whole cities so we can
mm,
rebuild them? They're constantly looking to build new
mm,
markets. And so
mm.
climate change is just an excuse to
It
create
is.
another whole
Yeah,
market that
yeah,
they can exploit.
mm,
And this is, and people control, digital everything, AI. I mean,
mm,
it's just driven by capitalism. And I think people are starting to realize that. So thank you for
mm.
coming on and raising that, Eileen.
Okay, thank
Lots
you.
of love. I'm going to come to Brian next and then Hugh. Hey, Hugh, that's nice to see you. Hugh was one of the very first people who ever came on these calls back in January 2021. Let's come to Brian first and then we'll come to you, Hugh. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
Yes, alive and kicking, Rachel, pushing through, being the best I can be, I suppose. Yes, Sas is amazing, isn't she? I
Yes.
wanted to thank you, Rachel, for you've been prolific. Thank you for doing the show and doing your stand in the parks and setting a great example. You are my mentor, you'll give me hope. Well, we were sort of doing this before COVID, wasn't we? You were doing the speaks out before even the COVID sort of hit. This has been quite a journey, isn't it? Yes, Woking hasn't. It's been a bit of a disappointment to me. It's home territory, but it's sort of broken my heart in a sense. And yes, but I think I might be a bit comfort zone here. I haven't really found my tribe, as it were. There's some good people here doing some amazing stuff, but yes, one has to get out of comfort zone, doesn't they? And for find their place. And I hope I will find my place. I'm awake and aware, but one still has to find their place, isn't it? And it's all got very frightening. But one has to step through the fear. And yes, it does seem all very complicated, but all you need is love, and you're doing the right thing with that. So yeah, thanks Sas for that amazing getting out of comfort zone, isn't it? She proper did, didn't she? Oh dear. And she was laughing about it, which is amazing. And she stepped into her anger and stepped out of it. I mean, and the sound and the amazing experiences she had.
Yeah.
But yet, wouldn't have had them experiences if she didn't get out of that comfort zone. So yes, I've still got some work to do, isn't it? I've got some comfort zone to step out of and push forward. So yes, I just wanted to say you give me hope. And yes, our law is sort of kept from us at the moment, isn't it? Because they created this emergency, and yes, and we're all waking up to that, and you're very aware of that. And so, yes, I think what Roger is sort of saying really is we're all after some sort of account, because we're held accountable, aren't we? But some people aren't held accountable.
Yeah.
So to build trust, we have to set a good example, exactly what you're doing and what the good people are doing. And and this is the sort of Christ consciousness, isn't it? And we are one. It's not rocket science, is it? And it's just a realization of that. So yes, we're enlightened beings, isn't it? The human condition is the spelling. Ah dear, yes. because they've been sort of spelling, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you can even track the word down human is sort of monstrous. They
Yeah.
twist everything upside down at the moment. But yes, amazing. I will let somebody else speak. I will speak somewhere maybe later or something.
Okay, Brian. Well, thanks for coming on. And yeah, we are in it for the long haul. I was talking to Jamie Ike the other day and just talking about some of the pressure and the heat I'm personally coming under, especially since having going into politics. I've noticed that the intensity of the pressure on me has exponentially amplified of this kind of, so it's really, it's like standing so strong, and we're in it for the long haul. And it's not just enough to speak it, it's about being the living embodiment of it. So I think that's where we're at now. There's such a strong core group of people who are in this for the long haul until it's over, until the light is shone on the whole of the labyrinth and it turns to dust and this new golden era is birthed through. I strongly believe that is the mission. That's the master plan, for those of us who are awakened.
Rachel, yes, I'm there for you. Yeah, I've got to step out of where I'm at now and step forward and take on some more responsibility. And yes, thank you so much for that. Yes,
yeah,
it gives me hope.
And don't underestimate, Brian, how important you are as a supporter, because I do notice and I do hugely appreciate the fact you are always showing up, you're always commenting on every post, you're constantly putting positive messages of hope and enlightenment into, like, the Rachel Speaks Out and into the love channels and the source channel, so that is really appreciated. And don't underestimate the importance of that support, especially for people like me who are constantly creating content. It really helps to feel that people are listening and appreciating and supporting. So thank you, Brian.
Godspeed, Rachel.
Okay,
yes,
lots of love.
Say something personally, yeah. Yes, I have been putting a lot of energy into this metaverse stuff, but you've got the happy medium, isn't it? Like, I should get more I haven't been walking as much as what I should. Like, I should be making a little bit. Yes, I have maybe got a bit lapse. And yes, thank you for being prolific and making me be more accountable. Yes, I will let you get on, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks. Lots of love. And I'm coming to Hugh now. Hi, Hugh. How are you doing? All the planets going retrograde, Hugh. I know that you're heavily into astrology.
Yeah. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yeah, hi.
Okay. Well, what I'm coming on today for is because I found some incredible information just today, actually, and it seems extremely synchronous to help us combat this climate change bullshit, essentially.
Okay.
See, I want to explain it here because I put a link in the chat to the evidence, but that the video I've linked to is rather technical in terms of physics. Now, I have a degree in physics, so I can understand it, but there's something incredibly simple that's emerged from that. So I want to explain to you what has emerged, okay?
Yeah.
Well, the point is that video is made by a channel called Ontological Mathematics, and he is heavily into explaining why the idea of CO2 causes climate change is wrong, right? But he, in my opinion, he takes a far too technical stance to convince anybody but somebody who understands physics. And what he's accidentally uncovered is something that anybody can understand if I can find the source of the evidence to cite to them, right? So the way this works is like climate change is meant to work like a greenhouse, right? And the way that is said to work is that light comes in the greenhouse, it heats up the whatever's in the greenhouse, and then because the radiated infrared radiation can't get through the glass, it's trapped inside. That is what causes a greenhouse to work, right? Now, this new evidence shows that that's not the way it works, right? So essentially what they're saying is, with the greenhouse effect, is that the whole world is like that, in that carbon dioxide reflects the infrared radiation back, and that's what is supposed to be causing climate change, okay? Well, what this guy, he was talking about some climate alarmist who debunked himself. And the key part of that is that this guy mentions experiments which have been done with glass in the greenhouse that doesn't reflect the infrared radiation, and they work just the same, which shows that the infrared radiation is irrelevant. The reason why the greenhouse is working is it's like insulation. The light brings the energy in, and the greenhouse stops the hot air that rises from escaping into the. That's how it works, right? It's simple. And if I can find a link to the original experiments, that's all you need in your argument. Say, look, experiments have been done that show that the greenhouse effect doesn't work that way. It's because a greenhouse traps the warm air, not because it stops the infrared radiation from escaping. And this proves that it's the sun that drives how warm the Earth is, not how much CO2 or any other gas like methane or something will work at all. It won't.
Okay, Hugh, so yeah, I'm looking forward. I copied that link and I just repasted it. So I will have a look at that after the call, and I may well post it on Rachel Speaks Out. I always look at things before I share them, because I sort of curate my channel. So yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think we all know that it's bullshit, and it's just an excuse to drive through more control and try and sell more stuff. But yeah, thank you. Do you want to just, before I come on to Owen, so I'm going to come to Owen next, Roger, because
I think that Roger's ideas are great. You know, that's the key to trial by jury.
Yeah. So before I come on, I'm going to come to Owen next rather than Roger, because you've already spoken once. But just to say, Hugh, is there anything you want to say about all these planets in retrograde? Because I know that there's so many planets in retrograde, and what that means for us collectively before you depart. Just a few words.
This is what it will mean. Any planet retrograde is a review, right? It's like things are being looked at again. Things that have happened earlier have been looked at again.
Yeah.
And it's a process of saying, like, did I get things right the first time?
Yeah.
Or, you know, is there something I need to change? And whenever you got something slow, like, I mean, Pluto, I've made a video about this in 2020. It's called Saturn's Solstice. It explains the role of Pluto. All this, what do you call, this virus bullshit, which
yes,
viruses have been proved. There's now an excellent video. I could put a link in the chat. It's on BitChute. It's Spacebusters have made a wonderful video that explains Dr. Sam Bailey's I've forgotten her husband's name, but he wrote a paper, a massive paper, A Farewell to Virology, which totally proves that viruses don't exist.
Yeah.
Steve Faulkner from Spacebusters has been working with him to make one of his brilliant videos that explains it all so that we can all understand it.
Yeah.
So I'll find a link and I'll put that in the chat also.
Yeah, thanks, Hugh.
But
Okay.
actually, the planets, I have a feeling that this is a time when we're on the brink of stuff, right? When those planets turn direct, then things are going to move forward.
Yes.
My creative guidance has told me this is the start of them bringing themselves down.
Yes.
Look at what's happening with the climate change. They've got fires in Canada, they've got fires in Hawaii, they've got fires in the Greek islands, and they're getting so hyperbolic with all this climate change bullshit. I mean, if you follow Tony Hiller, you will know that 1931 was the hottest year ever, and that how they've been tampering with the evidence.
Yes.
And this year is actually quite a cold year, which is proved because I'm wearing my dressing gown and my nice warm hat in this summer, and the temperature's like 17.5 degrees in my house. So
yeah.
bullshit, and everybody should be able to see it who's not hypnotized by it. And at the same time, they're going to ramp up the virology and try and lock us down again. And it's like they're getting so incredibly hyperbolic with all this that who can't see through it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Hugh. I'm gonna mute you back, and I'm gonna come to Owen next because I'm just conscious time's running away. People are saying they want to hear from Owen and Patrick, who are lined up. So come on, Owen, let's hear from you.
Hi, Rachel. How's things?
Good, yeah, thanks.
Is my microphone okay? I got a different mic.
Yes,
today.
yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Yeah, well, wow, interesting. That the concept of retrograde comes in, because this is what's going on. You can summarize what you just spoke about. You're speaking about climate change. You're speaking about the virology aspect, and those two things are both exactly the same from, let's just call them the bad guys, the tyranny's perspective, because they both do what the agenda wants in terms of locking down we the people, right? Creating this fear environment where everybody's looking over their shoulder for the next, disaster, how it's going to happen. It isolates and atomizes we the people, and that does the job that they're, continually rolling out as a template. So I put a little link in the chat just now, murderbydecree.com, and that's a website that's connected to a book of the same title by a guy called Kevin Annett. His tribal name, given to him by the native people of North America, is Eagle Strong Voice, because for 30 years, Kevin Annett, Eagle Strong Voice, has been divulging and presenting us with evidence of this genocide that has been actively rolled out in North America, especially Canada, through residential schools, which could also be called death camps for children, where they would round up the native indigenous people, steal their children, abduct their children, and put them into these death camps, where the death rate was higher than the Nazi death camps during the Second World War. And he and the native people of North America have no surprise whatsoever about what's currently happened, because, for example, the injection genocide has been going on in North America to the indigenous native people for decades, and all the evidence is in that book, Murder by Decree. So this guy, Kevin Annett, is a really, what you might call heavy artillery. He's the guns in our own in terms of providing we the people with all the information we need to understand this ancient template of genocide designed to densify, to keep us in densification, to keep us traumatized in fear and insecurity, so that we are easy to control. That creates that environment that makes we the people easy to manipulate, because we're looking for saviors. We're looking for the government and the authorities to come and rescue us. When the truth of the matter, when you look at the Hawaii situation, is that weather warfare, geoengineering, such as cloud seeding, but also this SpaceX, this Elon Musk situation, where tens of thousands of low-level satellites, low-orbit satellites, have been placed up, while we've all been running around in panic about, COVID and climate change and this kind of thing. Meanwhile, away from the mainstream media, who arguably are the most horrendous criminals for their complicity in these genocides. But these weather weapons, there's a lot of evidence now. If you watch Max Egan's video presentations with evidence, you see these lasers coming down. Maybe I was a bit late on the call, maybe this has been mentioned already, but there's localized frying, frazzling, complete obliteration of these areas of, well, it's, like you say, it's like you said, it's Canada, it's Turkey, it's Hawaii, etc., and then yet right next door to these sort of blasts are trees and things that are completely untouched. So how does the incineration of a car with a metal melts in a town, not in a forest, correlate with trees that stay standing? This is not a natural disaster at all. Yet the mainstream media are completely complicit with this horrendous, heinous crime that's in progress. And so we have to get together. We have, people say don't comply. Okay, that's the first step. But the second step has to be to come together. So you mentioned Gareth Icke. Well, the Iconic platform is very, very powerful. It has a huge following, across the globe. And we need some hub of power of We the People, such as Iconic, to move away from just presenting evidence and information and news, and to start drawing us together as a solid body of resistance and defense, because we need protection. Thousands of children have been killed in Hawaii just recently, murdered in a genocide attack that is being presented as a natural disaster to create this lockdown situation, 15-minute cities, etc., through this climate change agenda facade. And I say it again and again, Rachel, and people are probably getting a bit bored of it, but we need to organize. We need to come together collectively.
Well, this is kind of the essence of the love movement, but I think so many people are doing initiatives now and just joining all those dots. It was actually Jamie Icke, not Gareth, but yeah, I mean, coming all of these initiatives all over, everyone who's doing everything, all of the people who are speaking out, all of these initiatives, just joining the dots so that and it is happening, so that it's a formidable worldwide force of the truth and focused action and inspired action.
Can I ask a favour, Rich? Would you put it? I've written a few emails and I've tried to correspond, but the Iconic won't answer my question as to why they won't present Kevin Annett's watertight evidence and heavy artillery information and research, and it baffles me as to why Iconic. Well,
if you send me the sort of link and a name and a bit more info, because I don't really know that guy, I could maybe just send him a text.
Sure,
and bring his attention and just directly ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Owen, thank you. And I'm going to come to Patrick because it's 5:02 and just trying to get everyone on. And if we've got time, we'll come back to you, Roger.
Hello.
Hey, Patrick. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to follow a little bit what Hugh was saying about CO2. I mean, this is maybe a very sort of simple way of looking at it, but let's say Mars and Venus are the two planets next to it. Venus is closer to the sun. Mars is further away. We're in the middle. In any case, the atmosphere of both of those planets is made up of CO2 for the most part. I think over 90% in both cases. And yet one is extremely hot and the other is extremely cold. So in other words, it's not to do with the CO2. It has to do with the distance from the sun. I mean, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible.
Yeah.
One planet is extremely hot. The other one is freezing, basically. They're both composed primarily of CO2, their atmospheres. So how could CO2, it doesn't make sense that it's such a key thing. And another thing, I mean, if CO2 absorbs the radiation from the sun and then releases later on, couldn't it be said it's a global coolant as well as a global warm-up? If you know what I mean, it's like, I think there's something basically wrong with the physics here at a very basic level. Unfortunately, I don't know enough physics to really find it out, but I suspect it's completely wrong.
Isn't that the case with it all, though? All of this science, it's all manipulated to fit an agenda. And if you've got a strategy to do something, then you can find scientists who will, who will comply or agree or come up with the evidence to support your theory. You know, it's like anything.
Yeah, in some ways, I think maybe I'm arguing with myself because I used to believe. I used to believe in it. I was a very strong believer in global warming. I lived in Los Angeles at that time. That might have something to do with it. It was very warm there all the time. So I'm kind of almost trying to free myself from this very heavily promoted.
Yeah. Well, this is why it's good to be aware of all of this shit, but that's why it's also really good to keep focusing on co-creating the world we do want, and you know, because otherwise we end up feeding energy into the problem as opposed to co-creating the solutions. So yeah, it's getting that balance, isn't it? Okay, Patrick, thanks for coming on. I'm going to quickly come back to Roger, and then Sas can have the last word, and then we'll call it a close. Just Roger, 1 minute, just to add if you want to come on. Roger, do you want to come back on? You need to unmute.
Okay, yeah. I forgot to tell anybody who is ordering the leaflets that they'll be dispatched in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
And just finally to say, at the Beagle get-together, I announced my candidacy for the next local election on behalf of the Love Movement. And I shall be holding surgeries in the Beagle every Saturday.
Beautiful. Lovely. Thanks, Roger. So anyone who's in York, near the Beagle pub, Saturday afternoons, pop and say hello to Roger.
Yeah, because I'll be there every Saturday.
What time on Saturdays?
Oh, it'll be certainly noon onwards.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Roger. Maybe put the details of that in the chat. Okay. All right, and then coming to Sas, I can just hear the church bells ringing for the 1 o'clock. So over to you for the last word, Sas.
Hi, I know there's obviously, we can look at all the problems that are going on, all the challenges that we've got from the war that we've been waged against us. But what I have witnessed is the power of our intentions are so strong now. I went out on a boat, chartered boat for my birthday, and they were going to have to cancel because it was really bad weather and there was clouds everywhere. And I just said to everyone, sit on the back of the boat and literally just focus on the clouds clearing and just seeing blue skies everywhere. And literally within 5 minutes of this happening, the whole of the sky cleared. And I just knew that if you can, and you know, especially if there's more of you than just one, gather together. And also sound actually puts out fires. There's a frequency that you can find that will put out a fire.
Wow.
Even though they've got these directed energy weapons that they're, you know, focusing on zapping anything and setting it on fire and exterminating it, we actually have the power. So it's about coming together as often as we can to create these sonic waves of pure intention to just clear all this nonsense. Bring it to the surface so that we can see what part we've played as well, because we've allowed it to happen. And now we're reclaiming back our planet, and we are clearing them through sound waves and collections together and raising the vibration as a collective. So so much power, people. Don't believe that we haven't got hope in hell. We have got so much power. And if you just literally focus on clearing clouds and practicing using that mind intention, you'll start to realize what the power you hold inside of you.
Yeah. I think Dee Sunshine's on the call. I just remember lying on the grass in the Andes, and we were just focusing on dissolving clouds, and it worked. And he just said, let's just focus on dissolving that cloud. You see that cloud up there? Let's both focus on dissolving it. And literally the cloud disappeared. It was absolutely incredible. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I honour your courage going out to the Peruvian jungle, because I was in a singing circle, and this beautiful guy was playing beautiful guitar, and I spoke to him afterwards because we've been sort of vibing and singing together. And it turns out, I said, "Where have you come from before you got here?" So I spent 2020 in Peru, and I said, "Oh, I know somebody who did that," and they said it was absolutely, really, really strict in Peru, and how difficult it was. They'd gone to set up a retreat, and he said, "But I'd gone to set up retreat in the Peruvian jungle." It turned out he'd set it up with Davina.
Oh, was it? Was that in his army? Yes,
and he said, just say that you met somebody who was a Virgo, and because she's always.
Oh wow! Oh, that's so cool that you met his
really
army.
Cool. So I know
that is complete synchronicity.
I know.
Love it.
We had a beautiful time together. So just go to show the power of all our intentions and how we're sort of bringing each other, drawing people to you that are going to be part of your part of your unfoldment of your story and the power that's happening within all of us. So
amazing.
Keep up the good work, everybody. Keep on coming up to the People Speaks Out. Keep sharing your opinions and views, because this is all helping to create the vision we're wanting.
Cool. Thanks, Sas. And
you're welcome. Lots of love, Rachel.
And you. Good to see you. Good to have you back. And I am going to come to Owen for the last word. We did start a bit late, so let's just come to Owen. I think do you want to have the last word, Owen? You got your hand up?
Yeah, just really quickly, just on that whole, climate change and the science and the virology and the science, you have to trust, right? You have to trust. You can't see a virus. You have to believe people who've got microphones and white coats that there is such a thing as a virus. And then same with climate change, you have to believe that there's a problem with CO2, and you have to believe that there's a hole in the ozone and all this kind of stuff, right? And I think it gets really simple when you just understand the extent of lies that we've been told since we were children, all the way through, in order to create that environment of anxiety and insecurity and fear. And that once you clear all that crap, and you say to yourself, it's military propaganda that I've come to believe, life becomes so much more understandable, because you know that there's a very sophisticated, in terms of media and propaganda, tyranny, pumping bullshit, excuse my language, down to us, we the people, in order to create that atomized, fragmented, divided, for the divide and conquer strategy. Thanks,
absolutely. Rachel. We are literally lifting a kind of curse. It's like we're breaking a curse, like in the fairy tales where a curse was cast over the people. We are literally breaking the curse through light and sound and harmony and truth and friendship and co-creative and visioning and intention. All of these powerful metaphysical tools are breaking the curse that has kept humanity in pain and suffering. And that is what this movement is truly about. So it's very, very exciting times. So, and you are all part of it, all of you on these calls, everyone watching, everyone commenting, everyone all over the world doing the similar things in our own pieces and our own ways. This is a worldwide wave of empowerment, liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment globally. It's a wave and it's unstoppable. So thank you all for coming on. Give us a wave and have a great bank holiday Monday, and see you in 2 weeks' time, which will maybe Sas or Helen, depending on who wants to come on and host the call. So sending you so much love, and bye for now. Have a great day.